Cuba charms visitors with a wide variety of diverse locations, from beautiful towns swaying to the pulse of tropical rhythms to unspoiled, lush forests. Travelers can encounter unique architecture, white sand beaches, and excellent wildlife viewing locations all across the nation. To properly visit the largest and most fascinating island in the Caribbean, add these 10 locations to your schedule. Keep on watching to see the top locations to visit in Cuba. Number 1. Valle de Vinales. One of Cuba's most picturesque locations is Vinales, which is located around 180 kilometers west of Havana. Its spectacular red soil landscapes and peculiar limestone outcrops known as mogotes contributed to its inclusion on UNESCO's World Heritage List. The best casas particulares in Cuba may be found in Vinales, along with some of the friendliest and most helpful casa owners who serve as the primary organizers of neighborhood activities. Los Acuaticos and Valle del Palmarito can be reached by bicycle, horseback, or on foot. The Gran Caverna Santo Tomas, Cuba's largest cave system, can be reached by car. Here's a great tip. Known for its famous spot of the world's best tobacco, Vinales needs to be experienced by an expert guided tour of the whole city. Number 2. Havana. Without Havana, Cuba would lack its heart. The island nation has a rich and well-known past. The majority of tourists' first stop in Cuba, Havana, is a city that perfectly captures where Cuba is at the moment. Stuck in the past, yet striving to become a metropolis of the present and future. The crowds of tourists you'll encounter, especially in the Old Town, emphasize this. Despite possible visitor crowds, Havana is a destination you shouldn't miss. While you will walk a bit, your senses will all be on high alert owing to the unusual surroundings, from old cars to streets that look impoverished and rough. Both novelty and actuality coexist in this situation. Everything that you could have previously thought to exist in Cuba appears to exist in Havana, and whether you stay here for a short period of time or a longer period of time, Havana is the ideal place to realize just how remote Cuba feels from the rest of the world. Number 3. Varadero. The region of Cuba that is closest to the United States is Varadero, which is on the peninsula de Icacos, which is situated 36 kilometers from Matanzas. With a length of around 30 kilometers, of which 22 kilometers are beaches, Varadero is regarded as one of the primary attractions for tourists from all over the world due to its year-round tropical light, its exotic and flamboyant vegetation, and the purity of its seas. One of the most breathtaking beaches in the world is Playa de Varadero, or Playa Azul, a stunning enclave of pink and white sand and crystal clear water. Playa de Varadero is unquestionably Cuba's most stunning beach. Varadero's tourism district is somewhat distinct from the typical Cuban architecture. It more closely resembles summer vacation destinations in California and, to a lesser extent, the Canary Islands. The major brands have constructed lavish, all-inclusive hotels on the beach with everything you could ever want. This makes this location the perfect choice for people looking for a relaxing vacation where the beach, cocktails, and nightlife rule. Varadero, however, is much more than that. If you're wanting to unwind in the midst of vivacious, unspoiled nature, Cayo Blanco or the Cuevas de Bellamar are the perfect places for you. Number 4. Santiago de Cuba. The second most significant city in this Caribbean nation is Santiago de Cuba. It is situated in the southern part of the island and has been the scene of historical occurrences ever since the Spanish occupation. Diego Velázquez, a Spanish conqueror, founded the city in 1515, and it still contains a number of landmarks that serve as reminders of the pivotal moment in the island's history. The influence that other significant eras had on Santiago's architecture, art, and traditions may be seen today. You can visit the museum of this historical Cuban atmosphere in this magnificent city, which is close to the Nuestra Señora de la Asunción Cathedral and Céspedes Park. To learn more about the colonial era, you can also visit the Velázquez balcony and the Casa Diego Velázquez house. Number 5. Trinidad. Trinidad is one of the most beautiful and most authentic colonial sites in Cuba. It was the third house established by the Spanish throne in Cuba by Diego Velázquez in 1514 and was named a World Heritage Site by UNESCO in 1988. With outstanding colonial architecture from the 18th and 19th centuries, it is now regarded as a city museum. Notably, it has the characteristic colonial atmosphere thanks to its winding cobblestone alleys, gorgeously renovated buildings, magnificent churches, and amazing courtyards. Its streets will give you a sense of the true Cuban spirit. You'll travel back in time to a more peaceful time when there were fewer cars on the road. Allow this town that became a city to captivate you. Unbelievably, this city did not always radiate such tranquility. Learn about the urban myths and legends based on the city's numerous attacks by Dutch and English pirates. Additionally, the distinctive legacy of the African slaves who supported sugar production has been preserved. Number 6. Baracoa. The first city refers to Baracoa, a national monument of Cuba, which is the oldest colonial settlement on the island. The province of Guantanamo, near the eastern tip of the island, is where it is all charming. This Cuban gem is tucked away among mountain ranges with rich, beautiful native vegetation, as well as crystal clear rivers and lovely beaches. It is unquestionably a singular, exotic location on the entire island, as is shown by the Parque Nacional Alejandro de Humboldt, a priceless gem that has been meticulously protected. Because of Baracoa's beauty, the Spanish chose to call it Our Lady of the Assumption of Baracoa and established it as their first town. Due to the abundance of these areas, Baracoa was subjected to incessant conflict between the indigenous population and the Spanish for generations, giving rise to some extremely intriguing stories, such as the one that describes the death of Chief Hatui. The Fortaleza de Matazan and Fuerte La Punta, two of its most significant features in addition to the Castillo de Saboruco, are surrounded by old homes that line the streets of this historic neighborhood. Explore the earliest Spanish settlement, which is home to one of Cuba's most significant national parks, great beaches, incredible mountains, and historic forts. You shouldn't skip Baracoa if you're traveling through the province of Guantanamo. Number 7. Kamagui. The biggest, straightest, and also most eastern province on Cuba's island is Kamagui. Its economy expanded in the 17th century as a result of the raising of cattle and the production of sugar. It contains a few mountain ranges and is surrounded by the two largest archipelagos in the nation, the Jardines de la Reina to the south and Sabana Kamagui to the north. Both still protect virgin regions where one can find peace. With an average of 24.7 Celsius, the temperature does not change significantly throughout the year. The majority of visitors land at Ignacio Agramonte International Airport or on a road trip from another part of the nation. Santa Luca Beach in Cayo Sabinal is without a doubt the main tourist destination in Kamagui province. Few visitors to the island can resist the tropical attraction created by the water's color and the fine beach. The nearby hotels provide many entertaining activities as additional incentives for visitors to enjoy the lovely beach. On your journey to Kamagui, you must also see the following fascinating locations: Florida and its customs, the Sierra del Chorrillo and its hiking paths, the history of the first Cuban constitution in Guaymaro, or the Nuevitas industry. Number 8. Matanzas. After Havana, Matanzas is the second largest province in Cuba and one of the most significant because of its contribution to the island's economic growth. Apart from the highlands in the northwest and center of the province, Matanzas' whole surface is flat. It is a province in western Cuba. It's fortunate that Matanzas is home to one of Cuba's most prized treasures, the beach resort of Varadero, given the number of tourists it draws due to its tropical climate for the majority of the year. However, Matanzas is filled with undiscovered gems, so it's not just the beach that's worth exploring. Because of its great differences, seasoned travelers will adore its beauty and diversity. You may take in the variety of greens, the spectrum of hues of its more than 920 different flower species, and the numerous fish in its warm waters while basking in the beautiful light of the Caribbean sun. This would be the ideal illustration of spring if it were to occur in the tropics. Number 9, Cienfuegos. One of Cuba's most similar urban centers, Cienfuegos still exists. Its numerous classical facades and thin columns create an ambiance evocative of the 19th century France that served as its inspiration. Actually, Don Louis de Clouet, a French immigrant, founded the city in 1819. It is not surprising that Cienfuegos is referred to as the Pearl of the South of Cuba, given that it has been successful in luring tourists from all over the world. Visitors come to witness the city's refined fusion of cultured French spirit and amiable Caribbean charm. A sign that quotes the well-known song Benny Moré and reads, "The city I like best," may be found in the bay itself. Cienfuegos is close to Cuba's greatest natural bay and has access to the ocean. The whole city enjoys an outstanding coastal setting, which, together with the peace that could be found in its refurbished streets devoid of hordes of tourists, are some characteristics that have been named a World Heritage Site by UNESCO in 2005. Number 10, Playa Garón Beach. Playa Garón Beach, with its coral sand and blue waters that surround the amazing reefs, is hardly recognizable from other little beaches in Cuba. But what makes this one unique is that it has seen over time how the Cuban people have fallen victim to various attacks and have resisted them until they have been conquered. Considered one of the best diving spots in the nation, it is not far offshore at Playa Garón, south of the province of Matanzas, and it doesn't require a boat to get there. The waters of the Caribbean are remarkably transparent and home to a colorful assortment of marine life. Swim in a cool cove in Caleta Buena or visit Punta Perdiz to search for coral reefs, because Playa Garón is a part of the Parque Nacional Ciénega de Zapata, which is home to about 2/3 of Cuba's 350 bird species. It is also one of the best spots in the country to go bird watching. Cuba is a huge island with a diverse range of landscapes, attractions, and activities. Every traveler will be able to find their own unique slice of Cuba. Which of these places convinced you to experience the rich culture in Cuba? Also, check out this other video if you want to visit Gambia. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more of our top 10 prime picks.